122 miles, 120 miles per hour.
All right, what is up, guys? It's Coach K here. This is the first video where you get to actually hear me speak, so hopefully you're looking forward to that. I'm taking a little bit of a break from the action shots of me hitting big serves and hitting big forehands. I strained a muscle in my calf a few days ago. I have a little bit of Peter Pan syndrome. I was playing some points out with one of my 16-year-old students, and I sprinted after a drop shot and felt something in the calf, that can't say it felt great, considering I couldn't walk afterwards, and went to urgent care. They gave me some excellent feedback saying I could be out for 1 week to several weeks, and they just said I pulled my calf. I have a feeling it's a little bit more specific than that, but hey, you get what you pay for, so it is what it is. So in this channel, sorry to get sidetracked there, but we're talking about how to serve big, not being the tallest person, the most athletically endowed person, not being the most flexible, being quote unquote past your athletic peak. We're going to talk about how to serve pro level speeds despite these quote unquote limitations. And as I've stated earlier, I was able to go from 107 miles an hour to 122 in 6 weeks. Now, this did take a lot of research. It took a lot of research into the mechanics. It took a lot of research into specific gym work that helped the mechanics. I wouldn't say necessarily got stronger from the gym work really, but it enabled me to feel what positions I needed to get into in order to serve bigger. So for example, I think feeling a hinge of the hips is very important. You look at the top pro servers, they're all getting a very powerful hip hinge as they're going into their racket drop like this. So as the legs are straightening, the hips are hinging upwards, I should say, as they're going into the racket drop. So we're going to start with myth number 5. This goes right alongside with what this channel is all about. And myth number 5 is that you must be tall to have a big serve. As I've stated, this is simply untrue, and I'll give you guys some examples here. Not only the fact that I'm 5'9.5" and can serve 122 miles per hour now at sea level, but there are many pro players, current pro players, former pro players, just to name a few, that I've alluded to in my comment section in previous videos. There's Benjamin Becker. He was able to serve in the 140s. He was the guy that beat Agassi in Agassi's last match ever at the US Open. Thomas Johansson won the Australian Open several years ago. And 5'11", served in the 140s. Johan Kriek from very many years ago, could serve in the mid 130s. He was 5'9", and we've got Italian guy currently on tour. He's been in and outside the top 100, Matteo Bellucci, lefty. As you may have seen the podcast with TFO, this is the Changeover podcast on YouTube, where he discusses playing Bellucci actually in the first round of the first round of the French Open. And he was like, wow, what is going on here? This guy's 5'6", serving 135. Man, I'm about to lose first round of the French Open. So these are examples that show you it clearly can be done, not being a giant and being able to serve huge. Yep, that was myth number 5. Now, coming in at myth number 4, the very commonly distributed myth that the more leg load, the better. This is not true. Loading your legs is important. However, what's even more important is how fast you can come in and out of that leg load. So you'll see Dr. Mark Kovacs, PhD, he's an expert on the serve speed. He discusses the importance in multiple podcasts and videos about how important it is to come in and out of that leg drive. And for me personally, that really helped quite a bit. I think I was, in previous years, I was very obsessed about, okay, I gotta get my legs deeper, you gotta get into that extreme knee bend. And sure, if you can get out of that knee bend violently, great, all the power to you, but it is very tough to get out of that knee bend. And what I'm trying to get at is, don't stress if your load isn't that deep. There's guys like Nick Kyrgios who can serve in the 140s. He doesn't have that deep of a knee load, so it definitely can be done because these kind of guys are able to get out of their leg load quickly, and that is what matters most anyways. So again, just focus on getting out of that load quickly, and it'll really help your serve. Number 3, This one's very common, that you must have a high elbow during the trophy phase. This is simply inaccurate. It is extremely important to have your right shoulder below your left shoulder into the trophy position. This creates a lateral tilt. It creates that cartwheel motion that you'll hear a lot of great serving coaches talk about, and all great servers do this. And also you create a longer area for the racket to accelerate in, because your shoulder's more down, your hitting shoulder's more down, like this, and then you have way more distance to travel right here, just simply from a physics standpoint. So now, number two, so myth number two here is that you must have a huge follow through to be able to pop a big serve. And this is just simply not true. In fact, if you obsess over having a big follow through, it can single-handedly destroy your serve, because what's extremely important is what's happening right before contact, during contact, and after contact. You need that long axis rotation, that quick internal rotation of the shoulder, that pronation of the forearm. And you need to stay on that forward and downward swing path after contact like this. So if you watch all the best big servers, when they're hitting a flat serve, they all stay on this plane right here. And now, I think over the years, I was so obsessed with, I gotta get a big follow through, or I need to finish to the left, that it really distracted me from the importance of driving down and through right here like this. So again, if you do have a big follow through naturally, or you do end up following through to the left, that is fine, as long as it's not taking the energy away from what's happening here and distracting you from what's vital as part of your swing path, what's happening right before, during, and after contact. Do not pull this arm early like this, or else forget it. And now, capping it off at number one, you must actively snap your wrist. That is myth number one. That is just simply untrue. Do you want there to be some wrist movement in the serve? 100%. You will see a lot of great servers have kind of this cobra action here. Not necessarily all of them, but quite a few, because the wrist does need to stay loose, and you will see a lot of great servers have the wrist release like this into their swing, like this. TFO, for example, he has a pretty limited racket drop, and he doesn't even get the most impressive shoulder turn by any means, but load isn't phenomenal. He does get in and out of it quickly, but he does have a loose wrist. And so I do think having loose wrist is important, because it does allow you to get more racket head acceleration, and it is a small portion of what's happening into contact and after contact right here. So yes, have a loose wrist, allow it to flex naturally, but again, do not consciously try to snap your wrist. That'll destroy your serve, and it's a huge myth that's still being spread to this day, so be aware of that. And I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like this content, please hit the like and subscribe buttons on the bottom. Thank you for watching, and have a good rest of your day.